Rome did not fall asleep knowing it would wake up without Julius Caesar. Power like his never arrives quietly, and it never leaves without blood. Julius Caesar was not born a king. He was born into debt, danger, and a family with a famous name but fading power. From the start, Rome watched him closely. Some hoped he would fail. Others feared what he might become. As a young man, Caesar learned one rule early. In Rome, survival depended on loyalty, money, and reputation. Miss one and you were finished. Lose two and you were dead. Caesar chose ambition. Not the loud kind, the patient kind. He spoke well. He listened better. He remembered names, favors, and insults. And Rome was a city built on all three. When the dictator Sulla took control, Caesar refused to bend. He would not divorce his wife as ordered. That choice almost cost him his life. He fled Rome, hunted, poor, and alone. But even then, he learned something important. Power could be taken, and it could be rebuilt. When Caesar returned, he returned smarter. He did not rush. He borrowed money he could not repay. He paid crowds to love him. He stood where people could see him. And slowly, Rome began to whisper his name. Politics in Rome was war without swords. Caesar mastered it. He defended the weak in court. He attacked the strong with words. Every speech gained him allies. Every victory earned him enemies. To rise higher, he needed more than speeches. He needed force. So he went to Gaul. Gaul was chaos. Tribes, forests, endless wars. Rome saw it as distant. Caesar saw it as opportunity. For nearly 10 years, he fought without mercy. He won battles others thought impossible. He crossed rivers in winter. He surrounded cities in days. He crushed rebellions with speed and fear. His soldiers adored him. He marched with them. He ate what they ate. He remembered their names. They would follow him anywhere. But Gaul gave Caesar more than victories. It gave him an army loyal to him alone. And that frightened Rome. Back in the city, powerful men watched nervously. They saw his reports. They heard the cheers. They counted the gold flowing into his hands. Among them was Pompey, once Caesar's ally, now his rival. Rome could not hold two giants. The Senate chose fear over fairness. They ordered Caesar to give up his army, to return as a private citizen, to face trials that would destroy him. Caesar stood at the Rubicon River and made a choice that changed history. He crossed it. With one step, he declared war on Rome itself. Civil war followed. Fast, brutal, unforgiving. Pompey fled. Armies clashed. Cities burned. And everywhere Caesar went, he won. When Pompey died in Egypt, Caesar did not celebrate. He wept, because rivals were useful. Dead rivals created fear. Caesar returned to Rome as its master, not by title at first, but by power. He forgave enemies. He filled the Senate with supporters. He reformed laws. He paid debts. He fed the poor. Rome breathed again, but with relief came suspicion. Caesar accepted honors once refused. His image appeared on coins. A chair of gold awaited him. People bowed. Some called him savior. Others whispered king. Rome had expelled kings centuries earlier. The word still burned, and Caesar seemed to enjoy walking near the fire. The Senate felt smaller each day, their voices weaker, their votes meaningless. Men who once ruled Rome now waited outside Caesar's door. Among them were men he trusted, men he forgave, men he raised, Brutus, Cassius, others with famous names and wounded pride. They told themselves they loved the Republic. They told themselves they acted for Rome. But fear played its part. So did envy. So did humiliation. Caesar did not see it coming. Or maybe he did and chose to ignore it. Warnings reached him. Dreams. Letters. Strange signs. He laughed them away. Because power has a dangerous side. Convinces you that you are untouchable. By the final months, Caesar held absolute authority. Dictator for life. No rival. No equal. The Senate smiled, but their smiles hid knives. Every reform created a new enemy. Every honor widened the distance between Caesar and Rome's old elite. They met in shadows. They spoke in whispers. They convinced each other that murder was duty. And yet none of them acted alone. Caesar's rise did not create just hatred. It created silence. A silence where powerful men looked away. When the day approached, Rome did not erupt. It waited, because Caesar's greatest mistake was not ambition. It was believing that power alone could replace trust. The enemies he created were not soldiers. They were senators, men with laws, titles, and history on their side. And as Caesar walked toward the Senate house for the last time, Rome already knew something he did not. The rise was complete. The power was absolute. And the enemies were finally ready. They said it was a group decision. They said Rome acted together. But Julius Caesar did not die because everyone agreed. He died because someone gave silent approval. On the morning of the Ides of March, Rome felt calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that hides danger. Caesar woke late. His wife begged him not to go. She had seen blood in her dreams. She had seen Rome without him. Caesar hesitated. For a moment even power paused. Then came the message. The Senate was waiting. Important matters could not wait. And so Caesar went. What history often shows is a crowd of angry senators. Daggers flashing. Chaos everywhere. But that image is incomplete. Because chaos does not plan itself. Weeks before that day, meetings took place in secret. Not in open halls, but in quiet rooms. Behind closed doors. Away from the crowds. Cassius was the voice. Sharp. Restless. Burning with anger. But Cassius was not enough. Rome would never accept a murder led by him alone. They needed a symbol. They needed a name Rome trusted. They needed Brutus. Brutus was torn. Caesar had forgiven him, raised him, trusted him. But Brutus carried something heavier than loyalty. He carried a famous family name. A name tied to the fall of kings. The conspirators knew this. They pressed him. They surrounded him. They fed his fear. They spoke of freedom. They spoke of the Republic. They spoke of Caesar wearing a crown. Slowly Brutus gave in. Not with words, but with silence. That silence was the real order. Once Brutus stood with them, the plan moved fast. More men joined, not out of courage, but because no one wanted to be left behind. This is how Rome worked. Power followed momentum, and momentum was turning against Caesar. But still, no single man stood up and said, "I order his death," because in Rome, orders could be invisible. The Senate itself became the shield. If Caesar died inside it, blame would scatter. No king, no tyrant, just a tragic mistake. The location was chosen carefully. The time was perfect. The guards were dismissed. And the excuse was simple. A Senate meeting. As Caesar entered the hall, the men rose. Out of respect, out of habit, out of fear. He sat down. The first move was gentle. A request. Petition. Caesar waved it away. That was the signal. One blade struck. Not deadly. Not clean. Caesar stood in shock. Confused. Angry. Then another blade. And another. The room exploded. Senators who planned it struck wildly. Some missed. Some wounded each other. This was not a clean execution. It was panic wrapped in purpose. Then Caesar saw Brutus. The moment froze. His resistance stopped. His body collapsed. Not because the wounds were too many, but because the betrayal was complete. Caesar fell at the foot of Pompey's statue. A final insult written by fate. 23 wounds marked his body, but only one truly killed him. After the blood settled, the room went silent. The men looked at each other, waiting for cheers, waiting for thanks, waiting for history to agree with them. It did not. Rome did not rise in joy. It recoiled in fear. The conspirators ran to the streets, shouting freedom. But the people listened quietly. They did not celebrate, because something felt wrong. Caesar had been many things, but he had also been Rome. The truth soon became clear. No clear order had been given. No single ruler had commanded the killing. And that was the lie history repeated. Because someone always gives permission, even without speaking. The Senate as a body had allowed it. By fear, by silence, by refusal to stop it. Powerful men knew what was coming. They did nothing. That was the hidden order. After Caesar's death, chaos returned. Not freedom, not peace. Civil war followed again. Blood followed again. Brutus and Cassius fled, hunted by the very republic they claimed to save. And Rome learned a cruel lesson. Removing one man does not remove power. It only changes hands. Mark Antony spoke at Caesar's funeral. Simple words, careful words. And Rome burned with anger. The people turned. The truth twisted. The killers became enemies. Within years, every major conspirator was dead. Some by sword, some by suicide. And Rome ended up with something far worse than Caesar. An empire. So why did history lie? Because blaming a group is safer than naming responsibility. Because admitting silent approval exposes fear. And because Rome preferred a story where no one was truly guilty. But Caesar's death was not an accident. It was not sudden madness. It was not justice. It was permission without courage. A decision without a voice. And that is why Julius Caesar did not fall because of one man. He fell because Rome allowed it. If the story changed how you see Julius Caesar and Rome itself, stay with us. Subscribe for deeper truths history left behind. Like the video to support this work, and turn on the bell so you never miss what comes next.